back, and we're going to return to that other fantasy competition that everybody on the board, the Big Footy NFL board, really enjoys participating in, and that's Armchair Endzone. I'm joined now by Woodson, who of course is the Chief Administrator, Commissioner, and all-round guru. He's crunched the numbers while we've been recording the Cutthroat segment, and he's updated the playoff rankings and the result of all the games that unfolded, and we're here to run through the 8 round 1 playoff games. There are 2 conferences, the Charles Haley Conference and the Warren Moon Conference, and in each conference there are 4 round 1 matchups. We might start with the Charles Haley Conference.
Yeah,
that's all right. Probably the first one there is Crowman, who I think is ranked 3rd at the moment, matching up against their very own Fooey, who is ranked the lowly 48. Can our fellow panel member, Mr. Fooey, cause an upset, or will Crowman put Fooey where he really belongs?
Okay, with the first game up, we've got Crowman's number 4 seed. He's actually equal 3rd on the CR standings. He's a mile away from Fooey, who's pretty much the Cinderella story of the conference. Fooey has actually, I don't know how he's actually managed to pull, you had GG to beat in the second last week, and then he had to beat the rookie Matt T 78, and he's managed to do that only by a whisker right on Monday Night Football last week. So good on Fooey. But the thing is that he's up against class. He's been there. He's won the CR last year, and the only thing that's going against Crowman is that he tends to struggle in close games. If Fooey brings his A game, I give Fooey every chance to cause a boil over of the ND. If he doesn't do that, he's going to get smashed, and I've got a feeling with his form in recent weeks, he hasn't really been scoring heavily. Crowman will start off with a good part of 9.5 point spread.
Then we have the next matchup, which again is in Charles Haley Conference, between the very experienced Alberton Rob and the equally experienced Chisholm. Alberton Rob is sitting 8th overall, I think, in CR, and Chisholm is somewhat lower at 28, but still top 30 is a good result. What do you think? Who's going to pick this one up between the 2 veterans?
Well, they are veterans, and they pretty much joined very similar at similar times. Alberton Rob has had a consistent year this year. He's been in the top 20 for much of all of the season, and it's only in the last few weeks he's pushed into the top 10. His form has been very strong. He's won the last 4, and as opposed to Chisholm, who's pretty much had actually just the wheels have fallen off by, you think. He's lost 4 in a row. He's lost 2 in his division. He's only hung on by 1 game in his division. He's not showing much. The thing is that with Chisholm, when he got to the championship game, the Art Rooney Conference final a few years ago, he only lost by barely a few points. So I think he might have been pipped by a point by Reacher. Chisholm loves the underdog tag. He's going in as I think he's like 9.5 point spread plus. So he's been given a 9.5 point start. I wouldn't be surprised if Chisholm can pick 1 or 2 upsets this week. He hasn't been actually picking them. That's why he's got a 4-game losing streak. He just can't pick him at the moment. I'm picking. I think Alberton Rob gets over by at least 5 to 6 points.
We have probably an equally weighted matchup, but between much less experienced but yet high-profile opponents. Believer takes on Primetime Pricey. What do you think's happening there? Primetime Pricey certainly made a splash in previous seasons. Can he keep it up?
Well, things are Primetime Pricey is very similar to Chisholm. He's willing to take the chance. Last week, for example, he put a 12 CR on the Giants, and yes, the Giants were favourites, but at the same time, they weren't showing the form that merits a 12 CR. Sometimes you have to do that in the ND to push ahead and get that swing game happening. With Believer, he is 5 from 5 in games decided by 7 or less. And actually, Primetime Pricey hasn't lost a game in a close game, so they're both very good in close games. But Believer, for somehow, finds a way to get out of these tight situations. Believer has to bring his A game. Obviously, they both have to play their A games. If they can score over 110, they're in with a strong chance. Primetime Pricey's got the habit of actually throwing out the odd loose wild card type of game team, and they have to get up. It's like Chisholm. It's like if they can pick 1 or 2 upsets, they're a big chance.
Sort of channeling the ghosts of GG and making those random outside picks.
Yeah, GG got to the actual Super Bowl back in 2008, and that's what Primetime's looking to get. He actually got to the championship game and he lost. Was it 2012? And Pricey's, he's going in as an underdog. He's giving up. He's actually got more points on the board. I'm swinging towards Believer in a close one. This will be very tight, depending on what Primetime Pricey. An upset wouldn't surprise.
Then we have the remaining game from Charles Haley Conference, where, and I think it's safe to say, 2 of the highest performing and also 2 of the most experienced participants. Axis Miles 03, who really strong strong, solid, consistent performer, has fallen off the perch a little bit in the last 2 or 3 weeks, dropped from being very close to the overall leader down to number 12. And, of course, old man Jeff Dunn, the website administrator and core to the number crunching part of Armchair Endzone, who conversely, in contrast to Access Miles 03, Jeff Dunn looks like he's peaking at the end of the year. He's got right up to 7th spot. Not much between them.
No, there isn't at all. How I see this one, this is pretty much a contrast of where they're at. JD is pretty much working his way back into playoff or back into form. Just the way he's actually given a 6-point head start in the World qualifiers and actually made it is credit to him. And the thing is that he's got on the other side of it that Access Smiles has suddenly got the wobbles. He had his worst week. He had scored 71, paltry 71 when 3 of the top 10 actually scored over 100 triple digits. Access Smiles has to pull up his socks. He's not going to get away with JD. JD is all tuned in. He's ready to go. JD just come up with an impressive week last week. It's just a matter of whether this one's going to go down the wire. He's too canny for this, and I've already spoken to Access Smiles, so I know exactly what he's like. He doesn't mind the odd 1 or 2 upset amongst his, during the year. I'm pretty sure I can't remember the teams at the top of my head now, but he's done a few wobbly picks, and it's too risky for him to do that now. JD plays consistent. He doesn't actually laterize with these double digits. Safe pick would be JD.
So then we move to the top-ranked team, Bloods 33, the top-ranked team in the CR that is facing GCats, who's ranked 11th. Can Bloods maintain his top-scoring form, or will GCats cause an upset?
Well, GCats has got one of the hardest weeks. This is where GCats has to bring his A game, no question about it. He's got Bloods, who's number 1 on the CR standings. Bloods is actually number 3 ranked. GCats he's been knocking on the door, scratching on the door of the CR standings. He's 11th. They've only met once previously, and Bloods actually won that one back in 2010 in week 6, and that's when I was struggling to make the playoffs back then. Bloods is having a lights out type of season. He hasn't really dropped any bad weeks. I mean, he's probably had 1 week where he pretty much scored about 20 below the top scorer, but apart from that, solid. Bloods is solid, and he should come away with the points here. And GCats, he lets himself down. In previous weeks, he's had good wins, and then he's followed up with a loss that you don't expect him to drop. Good luck to GCats. He'll need to, like I say, bring his A game, and I just see Bloods holding out, and this will be a 6.5 point start for GCats. So Bloods will be minus 6.5 favourite.
Soda Pop take on Manure, and I think it's fair to say both Soda Pop and Manure are substantially lower in the CR standing, middle of the table, sort of 35th and 40th. Obviously, both would be quite happy they've avoided Bloods in the first round of the playoffs, but who's going to win out of their little matchup?
Well, this is a game where pretty much not much. There's only 13-point difference, and Man U's got actually more points this year. They've only played each other once, and that's actually dating back to the first inaugural year of next duel. So back in 2008, week 7, Soda Pop got the points. So it's a long time coming with this rematch. Man U Reid, the way he's come and fought back from an early season rough start in the Troy Polamalu and actually won the Troy Polamalu is a credit to him. And Soda Pop is going to be distracted. So this is the where Man U Reid can actually just get over the line here, because Soda Pop's going to be a pop for the 4th time. And I've got a feeling that Man U Reid can pull this one out of the fire.
Well, Soda Pop's pulling the baby out in the delivery room. Yeah, sounds good. We then have Smiths taking on one of the top seeds in Super Freak. Smiths is ranked 14th. Super Freak is ranked 3rd. Super Freak have the advantage, do you think?
Well, this is the first time they've met. Smiths has had the most solid, consistent year in the AE. He's actually still outside the top 10. He's only a dozen points out with him and Super Freak. Super Freak's is back to where I expect him to be. He's always been top 10. He's always been in the top echelon of competitors. He's actually 7th seed. He actually comes second to Bloods in the Ray Lewis division. With Smiths, you're looking at Smiths winning the division. Marshawn Lynch match, and he'll be the slight favourite. He'll be only by 1.5 point favourite. I can see the experience of Super Freak, who actually has won the ND before, getting across the line.
Which then leaves us with, I think, the last of the 8 matchups in the Warren Moon Conference. We have Sven playing T-Cole. Sven is ranked 9th and T-Cole's ranked 2nd. Both guys that have some history in the competition.
Well, they have earlier on when we spoke at a previous podcast. I was saying that these guys hadn't met before, and they had actually played that week in week 9, and it ended up being down to the wire. Well, it wasn't a down to the wire. It was actually a game that was already completed before Monday night, but it was a tight finish. It was a 67-66 finish in Sven's favour. T-Cole, he's the ND beast of this competition, and this is so tight, this game, because Sven is pretty much an outstanding. He's always been in the top. Well, this one's a blinder. This is, like I said, this is probably the most epic matchup, because both Sven and T-Cole are one of the heavyweights of the actual AE, let alone next duel. Although Sven hasn't actually reached the final of next duel, Sven's actually won it from wildcard, and this is where he's coming from. He's coming from the wildcard qualification. This is where it gets dangerous for Sven. Sven has got a almost sublime record when it comes to close games, but he did get beat by yours truly, so that's going to be a problem. It's going to like a dent in his armour, but he probably needed that loss at the right time. T-Cole's coming with a whole of an adrenaline rush. He's number 2 on the standings. He's 21 points clear of Sven all up. This one is very hard to call with a line or even predict a winner. It's going to be, I'll be surprised, I'll be actually stunned if the game is decided like it was their previous matchup for Monday Night Football. I'm hoping that it's actually a tie, so whoever gets the most winners, because that's what the first tiebreaker is, the most winners predicted will claim the tiebreaker. If that's a tie, it goes down to high CR, and if that's a tie, it winds back to the highest score that they scored last week. So best of luck.
You could be going back into the annals of breaking the tie of the tie of the tie of the tie.
It is, exactly.
I hope you get enough fingers and toes left to do all that countback counting.
Well, the thing is, you can't really separate them on. If you're going to discriminate in regards to CR standings, I don't find that's fair. So that's the reason why we'll do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it preserves the integrity of the next dual competition. Really looking forward to all those matchups, especially that last one, Sven and T-Cole. And you can catch up with us next week again, Woodson, mate, to give us an update on how those round 1 next dual playoffs play out.
Okay, and I'll throw out, because I didn't pick the winner. I said I was hoping for a tie. I would like to see Sven roll T-Cole on this occasion. T-Cole's had too good of a run, but in saying that, I know that T-Cole loves the underdog tag. He's too hard.
Do you think it might fire him up?
This will fire him up. His actual brother's actually leading the temptation comp as we speak. So if one brother wins money and the other one doesn't, I don't think the other one's going to be too impressed.
No, definitely not. Look, couple of other things that might be worth touching on. Not to obsess on myself, but as you know, I qualified in the tumbleweed division of the Last Chance Saloon. Managed to make it through the tumbleweed round into the first round and knocked off the number 3 seed. I then went into the second round this week and recorded the top 3 score for the whole week for all of CR. And what happened, mate?
Well, things unfortunately, S. Black decided to bring his A game, and he actually come up with 119 points this week, and I'm afraid you actually drew.
Got blown out of the water, didn't I?
Well, you didn't get blown out. You only lost by 10 points.
Yeah, well, it was still disappointing. But anyway, I had my win the week before when I knocked off number 3 seed. So I'm out of Last Chance Saloon. Good luck to everybody else left. There's been quite a few upsets in that comp already. Every year there's always upsets. The 3 of the top 4 seeds were knocked out in the first round. And I'm really looking forward as the rest of that competition unfold to see if there's any more underdog upsets. Really love that aspect of that option. Probably the other thing that's worth doing a quick overview, mate, is the CR standing. So going off the standings that are there for week 13, a couple of interesting things jump out at me. I jumped from 60-something 45th, but still get color-coded white as not having moved much.
This week, not much progress there by PG. No.
The more I guess clear or interesting things that jump out are just how compact that leaderboard is. In the top, there's really only from Bloods, who has 1,111, and there's something about one that's really odd. Between Bloods and the top 37 positions with less than 100 points. So Believer, who's the 37 ranking, has 1,012, or only 99 behind. So it just shows you how close those top 30 odd spots are every single year. The other thing that's worth mentioning, given our glorious moderator moderator will be listening to the podcast, I'm sure. Poor old GG's 300 points off the lead. Is there tanking going on? And what does he get as reward for finishing dead last?
Well, he just wants to show that one year you can have the stinker of a year. Like, let's see, we've had a few other guys that have actually finished last and have actually won AE titles. So it's not like the first time. Actually, Quinn Stick, who's second last, if you notice, he actually went on a 14-game winning streak last year and won the. You just don't know how he started. 0-2, and he ended up winning the rest of the games in next duel and won the whole shebang. And this year, for some strange, well, it wasn't a strange reason because I actually put him in a very tough division, and he actually couldn't cope, and he ended up. We had one of those Miami Dolphins seasons where they won one game and lost 15. They lost about 6 in overtime, or like 6 by under 3 or 4 points, and that's what type of season Quinn Stick had. He lost about 5 games or 7 games rather by less than 7. So just unfortunate that he just couldn't get. He started off on a rough stick. He opened up with Crowman, and he only lost by a point in the opening season, first blockbuster of the season, and he just couldn't find his wheels, not for one victory.
And probably the only other thing that really jumps out is the difference, and GG's started to track and update a spreadsheet. While the points scored in terms of total CR points are quite close, it's interesting the disparity that starts to show up when you look at total number of games correctly picked. And just to put that in context, Bloods has, as we mentioned before, he's a top-ranked player at the moment.
Yeah.
He has 1,111 points. He has also picked 131 games correctly. GCats has picked 135 games correctly, but only has 1,080 points. That's quite interesting to see. Obviously, some players are being much more conservative. Conversely, because GCats is one of our most experienced players, conversely, one of the rookies, for me, the real standout performance when you look into those numbers is the young rookie Torby, who has over 1,000 points, but has only picked 114 correctly. So you'd have to give him credit for his high-stakes gambling, I guess, because he's getting, from not very many wins, he's getting a lot of points, which for a rookie is pretty outstanding.
It is. For a rookie, he's actually one of the last guys to bail out. This week was the drop zone elimination last 12, and he actually was one of the very few, one of the last ones of the rookies to actually drop out. So that's a credit to him to last up until the second last week.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that not only does GG have the lowest points scored, he's also the only one left that's tipped fewer than 100 winners. So I think that sort of shows that overall the results are as you'd expect them to be at different ends of the spectrum with the ranking.
GG tends to jump on that chandelier once, twice, and at the end, it just falls out of the ceiling, and that's what happens with GG. The thing is that if GG can start off right, it's just a matter of finding the balance between being conservative and trying one or two. I'm the type of guy that's like starts on a rush with picking one or two upsets earlier in the season, and when they don't go my way, I started actually top 10, and my strategy is that certain teams do not get picked over 6 CR, and I broke that rule once with Tennessee. Certain teams you just do not trust whatsoever, and GG tends to throw. I don't know how he does it, but he just doesn't have a balance anywhere. That's why he's pretty much struggling.
Swinging for the home run every time.
Too much, too often.
All right, mate. Thank you for that update. Really enjoyed it. We'll whack it up in the AE thread, various bits and pieces, and looking forward to the results from this, particularly for next duel from the round 1 playoff.
Okay. All right. No problem.
And did you want to give the website addresses again, just so that people know where to go to get those excellent results?
Okay. You'll be updated on Twitter, which is the AE14 Clubhouse, and also the AE14clubhouse.com is where you can go and find all the latest updates on all comps.
That sounds fantastic. Thanks, mate. You have a great week, and we'll talk again next week.
Will do. Thank you very much.